watching Chopping It Up with Roger Cador and Perry White.
All right, it is a beautiful morning. It is a Tuesday morning, and guess what? It's Chopping It Up with Coach Cador. I'm Perry White, and he's the man, the myth, the legend, the Hall of Famer, and everything else nice. Roger Cador and my man on the board, Garrett Edgerson. Good morning, fellas. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Perry. How are you?
Doing well. How about yourself? You've been a man. You've been having a good time up there in Seattle, dealing with MLB.
Oh, it was a great time. We were able to accomplish a lot. Got the first inaugural HBCU All-Star Classic out of the way, and it was a roaring success.
So everybody's been traveling. I've been around from Arkansas to Chicago. Garrett, you've been out traveling around too. Where'd you go? We all been kind of out.
I've been to Honduras, Mexico, Dallas, Atlanta, and I'm back here.
And Coach, where else? You went to Seattle, that's it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was enough. I mean, it was a lot of work, but it was well worth it because putting this program together or activity is going to pay a huge dividend for HBCUs and the kids in the future.
That's it. You know, it's summertime. A lot of people are out going all over the place. And, of course, one of the places that they were going was Seattle. Starting on Friday was the HBCU Swingman Classic. Last night, if you paid attention, was the Home Run Derby. Tonight is the MLB All-Star game. And, Coach Cador, you and some others were influential in terms of bringing in MLB and HBCUs. And when we talk about HBCUs, we can't talk about HBCU baseball without mentioning Roger Cador. You were influential in terms of HBCU baseball, winning 14 SWAC titles, 11 Coach of the Year awards, multiple guys being drafted into MLB. So what you were doing in terms of that pipeline of getting guys to that opportunity to be able to take themselves to the professional level. Not only that, many scouts, many people that are a part of organizations or have been a part of organizations, on top of the classics that you come up with. One that we most notably know down in New Orleans, the Andre Dawson Classic, that brings MLB and HBCUs together as well. But we've seen over the past, I would say, maybe decade, where the transition of power in terms of where guys are coming from, when you look at HBCUs, the realm of HBCUs and MLB baseball isn't quite where it was once before, especially in your heyday of coaching. But now being able to sit at the table and have these conversations with the big leaguers, especially a big league name in Ken Griffey Jr., that's the one who put his name on it. That's the one who really, I think when you put a name like Ken Griffey, how influential he was to the game, especially as an African-American. And I grew up in it. It was one of my favorite players. And there's a few things we have today. But for all of you guys to come together and realize the need of this and then say, let's go find the top players in HBCU baseball, particularly on the Division I level. Let's bring them to our big weekend of MLB All-Star. And let's give them an opportunity to showcase their talent, because it seems like these days it kind of gets overlooked.
Well, I want to go back to not overlooking what you're stating, but, you know, the game itself, it did something unique that I remember years ago when the Classic was first developed in New Orleans. There were people who came from all over the place to Seattle to be a part of the HBCU Inaugural Classic. And I met people from New York and all along up and down the East Coast. They were there. They wanted to be a part of history. And I thought that was important. Now, getting back to all the other things you were saying is that when you get a guy like Ken Griffey Jr. involved, you really got something going. Mm-hmm. Because once he got involved, we got the backing of the commissioner's office. Even though we had Tony Reagan had already, he and I and Dale Matthews have been working on this in 3 years. And we were going to get it, but it just had a little more spice to it when we sprinkled Ken Griffey Jr. name with it. It just made this thing perk up. The conversation Junior had with us, and we've already achieved that goal. If we can get at least 2 kids drafted, it will only help us to build this thing. And we've got 2 kids drafted, a pitcher from Bethune-Cookman, and the pitcher from North Carolina A&T. One went in the fifth round and one went in the 10th round, which is high draft choices, by the way, for baseball, because they only have 20 rounds. So we've already met those goals, and we're thinking today's the last day of the draft. We potentially could have a couple more. So now we've got something to build on going forward as we go into Arlington, Texas next year.
You know, you've talked to me about the planning of this thing for a long time, especially before it even was unveiled to the public. And there was a lot of work, a lot of meetings and conversations that went into it. But to see it come in, what they say, into fruition, you got there this past week. What was the experience like now that the dream was a reality, and to see it come together? Explain how did it take place?
Well, it's well organized. Anytime MLB's involved and put that name on it, it's going to be organized. And that's why it took so long, because MLB doesn't rush and jump into a situation where his name could be tarnished. They're going to make sure all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed, and they've got the right combination for what their brain is. You got? Mm-hmm. And so we got that done. But getting to Seattle, the organization, for the minute I got there, they were ready for me. They had my itinerary and got me doing things. And it didn't stop until I left. And I really enjoyed the beautiful relationship I was able to develop with MLB, and the fact that they think I have something of value for what we're trying to do. They lean on me for a lot of information. And that's good in a way.
You know, you talk about the information. There was a lot of information around because there were a lot of guys that was veterans of the games, veterans of HBCUs that had stories to tell, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people was trying to get stories out of you.
Yeah, you see the story about HBCUs in general, you can't go read. It's oral. A lot of it is oral. And the beauty is that I've got 50-some years of dealing with HBCUs. So I'm able to tell the story that they can't go find in the book, and they're able to get it from me.
What's some of those legends or some of those veteran guys that you was able to see be a part of it, that as you looked around, you said, man, this is a beautiful thing to see him, to see her, who are all of these people to actually see this thing come together? Yeah,
really, it was good. And you know, when I looked at a guy like Dave Winfield, he wanted to be there. C.C. Sabathia, he wanted to be there. You know, and on and on and on. Eric Davis and Ralph Garr and Marquise Grissom and Vince Coleman and Andre Dawson and Trinidad Hubbard and Ricky Weeks and on and on. Those guys were intricate part of HBCUs. I only wish Lou Brock was still alive when he could have experienced that, because he was the first one from an HBCU to go into the Hall of Fame.
For you, all right, let's talk about now the athletes of the HBCU Swingman Classic. What was it like for them in terms of itinerary schedules?
Well, they were busy too. They didn't have much downtime. But I tell you, they act like big leaguers, because I got to see them in the clubhouse, and they act like big leaguers. They were sitting in the chairs, and they did the things big leaguers do. That is one of the advantage of today's youngsters, is that they've been able to watch TV and see people, big leaguers in the clubhouse. Mm-hmm. And they acted the way those guys acted. And, I mean, that was big, and they had a tight schedule. Some of the schedule, part of them, I was with them on some of the activities. You know,
what were some of those activities?
Well, one is that they had to go for batting practice. Mm-hmm. And from batting practice, they had to go to, we went to eat together. We did everything together.
Coach Cador not going to miss the meal.
Well, Ken Griffey had things really outlined, you know. He had them in a very upscale place. We had something to eat, mm-hmm. and just socialize. Yeah. Socialize. So many people wanted to be a part of that. You know, that big. Bill Roden, William Rhodes, is a writer, New York time writer. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He used to be on the Sports Reporter on ESPN. He was there. They came. They came because of the historical value. They didn't want to miss it. And that was the thing. And they brought a lot of young African-American people, came. Paper sent them. TV stations sent them. They were there for this historical event.
You know, as you talk about being able to be a part of MLB All-Star Weekend with this game, having some of the best talent around the country coming from our nation's HBCUs, what were you most impressed with when you saw these young people? At the fact that that they carried themselves well, or the fact that they went out there and really performed well?
You talking about the players? Or?
Yeah, the players.
Oh, no, they carried themselves well and they performed, and they were very appreciative. Those who knew me came and thanked me a lot personally. It wasn't just I, though. I want to make sure people understand. MLB had a group of people that we worked together to make this happen. You got me? And so, but, you know, there were a lot of people I had to recommend from the SWAC because I got to see those kids when they play at Southern. So my recommendation did carry some weight with the voters who had to vote them in because they wanted to know specific about certain kids. And that's where I was able to come in. You know, like, for instance, Nick Wilson wasn't on the list. And that's Southern's pitcher, by the way. And I said, when I told them about Nick Wilson, they started watching. And Nick Wilson ended up being one of the best pitchers in the whole All-Star game, and may have a chance to get drafted today.
Let me ask you this: the format of the game. What was the format like? They had honorary coaches and everything else. Talk to me about the format.
Well, the honorary coaches, they had, I think it's 6 or 7 coaches on each side, and they pretty much, you know, did the same thing, preparing them for the game.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that they wanted, the coaches to preach to the kids, let's put on a good show. It's like you all were the Jackie Robinson. They were the Jackie Robinson. They couldn't fail. Because for us to grow this thing, the first one had to be successful. And now that it was successful, the winning run didn't score until the bottom of the 8th inning. And it scored in the fashion that Negro League Baseball was, built on speed and excitement. That's how the run scored without the benefit of a hit. The ball got by the catcher, went 20 feet away, the guy scooted home on a close play and made it. So it was the excitement that the people were happy about. And nobody left. You know, people leave games and go. They stayed until the last out was made.
You know, you look overall at the state of HBCU baseball and now having this classic to be able to showcase it. For you, what seems to be the most polished position that you see, no matter as you look around at HBCU baseball, that seem to be where you get your better players from? And what seem to be a position that you think needs to be worked on a lot more from our level of playing?
Well, you're always going to have your outfielders. That's where your better athletes are. But at the HBCUs, I'm beginning to see shortstop coming up, really looking good. And so that's a position that I'm really impressed with, and the scouts are too, that these guys are really not pro players, but they're good college players. And we need to make sure people understand there is a difference. You can really be a good college player and not a professional player. You cannot be a good college player but have pro possibility. People don't understand that because professional ball is based upon abilities, running, throwing, hitting with power potential. That's how, and they may not always be able to put it together in college. But in the pros want to draft people who exhibit those kind of possibilities, and hopefully they can help them put it together.
One of your best players was there as well, former player Ricky Weeks Jr. You and he were both inducted into College Baseball Hall of Fame. So to have a player coach to do that and then to go out on a stage like this, what was it like when everybody saw you guys together on that stage at MLB?
Well, I don't know what anybody else thought. I was just happy to see Ricky, and then to see Trinidad Hubbard.
Yeah.
You know, see Ricky, who won the Golden Spikes Award, Trinidad Hubbard being the first player I had to be drafted. So for me, it was very special to be in it. That's why I said I've been a part of a lot of firsts, and this was even as special as any of the other firsts I've had. You know, first coach to win a game in the NCAA, first coach to win a game in the play-in, the first one to have a Golden Spikes Award winner. I mean, the first one to beat a #1 team in the country. I mean, we've just been a part of so many wonderful firsts. It's just beautiful.
Do they, when you're around, and I guess sometime when you're in a certain realm for so long, and I say HBCUs and HBCU baseball, but then when you get on this stage where, you know, you with the big leaguers, where it's multiple names, does it amaze you that all these years the name Roger Cador rings a bell in most rooms or pretty much any room when it comes to baseball?
Well, I don't know. It's just that when I'm around those guys, we all know each other, even though we hadn't seen each other in many years. It's just a good feeling. That was tears shared in the space when some of the older guys saw each other for the first time, maybe in 20-some years or 30 years, and they got a chance to be around each other. To me, that was more special. It's not about me and how any of the things I've done. It's just what can I do now to help grow the game and help young African Americans. That's my goal now, because I'm history. What I've done is over with. Now let's focus on the future, and I think that's what MLB wants out of me, and they feel I can deliver.
And I asked that because, you know, we always had that conversation about your humble beginnings. We were just talking about the show before the show started about even growing up, just having that, eating a certain meal for so long because it's what you could afford. And when you look back compared to what you just did this weekend, but over your life when you got started, never realizing what the future would hold, and the fact that in those days of you being a younger coach, Roger Cador, well, you wasn't a coach then, but you was Roger Cador, but you always going to be a coach. I guess I picture you being a 4-year-old little baby coach, Roger Cador. But as you grew up,
in a walking suit.
You
a Tommy suit? How about a Tommy suit?
Hey, that is fun. For all of y'all, real quick, I'm going to get back to it. But if you don't know, I've been telling them about the Tommy suits, but we were talking about the suits. If anybody's ever watched Martin, Tommy on Martin used to wear those suits, you know, and I called them growing up, those were the Tommy suits. So Coach said he had on a Tommy suit, so I'm sure over the years he had those as he's gotten older and over the years of the decades of fashion. But to go back to it, and I asked that about you having your name ring bells in these rooms because, man, you come from humble beginnings in a small town and never probably could have fathomed that you would be on the stage with the stars, because you are a star yourself, with the names of some of the people that you grew up with, and just realizing you made it from there. And then you in these rooms, you on the field, and you in these meetings, and guess what? You're one of the head people at the table. And never, you know, I guess when you get to a point, I'm still living and would love to have lived and accomplished as much as you have, but to realize, like, damn, this, you know, like, I'm really here, you know, considering where I come from. Like, here I am, was a little kid in this little town where only the people locally knew me, but now you have a global name. And would you have ever thought that you would have a global name?
You know, I used to dream being the son of a sharecropper. And those crop dusters used to fly. And I would look over, and my daddy would say, "Boy, you better pick that cotton and catch up." Mm-hmm. I was always the last one. I was last. Mm-hmm. And I was dreaming then. And I often think about that, those days I dreamed. I knew I had an opportunity to better myself from where we were, because I didn't want to be any part of that. You got me? So I was going to do and work as hard as I could, whenever I could, to be as good as I could. And I did exactly that. I never took anything for granted. I never did like so many people today do, said that they're great when they are not.
That GOAT status they like to use, they use it too loosely.
Yes, I kept saying, I'm not good enough. I need to work hard. And for me, it wasn't a negative. It was a positive. And it was true that I needed to work harder. Mm-hmm. And that's how I caught up. I kept building myself and to be a part of a global situation, certainly it's wonderful. It's good for the family. But for me, it's just, my wife did tell me before she died that I would get a chance to do things many people would never get a chance. Mm-hmm. And she encouraged me to always do my very best to help people, to give them information. Because she said, you have information a lot of people don't share it with others. And that's what I try to do.
To be a young man and to grow into a man that has changed many lives, coached many championships, won many awards, and then now to be able to be at a place to be able to do planning to continue those traditions, whether you're in the game or not, and keep it going, man. I think that's the beautiful thing about it. And lastly, before we get ready to take a break, as we wrap up talking about the Swingman Classic, what would you like to see better as this thing move forward? I know a lot of planning goes into something that you've never seen and never done before. So you put it on the table to the point of what you can accomplish just to get it off the ground for the inaugural one. But now that you've seen it, now that it has really went from a dream to a reality, it's time to grow it. It's time to keep building it higher and higher. What would you like to see moving forward now to take it that you feel maybe to the next level?
Well, I think it's as good as it's going to get right now. The key is if we could get more kids from that attend mid-level schools coming to HBCUs, and get a couple more kids in there. That's about it. Other than that, the game was fine. We didn't have a lot of snag. I mean, this thing went as well as, I spoke with people from MLB right after the game, and they said, guys, this thing really went off pretty good, uneventful.
There was a lot of uncertainty, I'm sure. People just didn't know what was going to happen.
We discussed it up until the first pitch. It was discussed, Were the kids, had they played enough ball over the summer? Remember, the kids' season in May.
Yeah.
And this is July. All of them were not playing in leagues. You got me? The big concern was, had they stayed sharp, maybe don't try to get them hurt, all of the things. So, will they be nervous? They were not nervous, and they were sharp, and they performed well. So they met all of the things. Now, we're going to tweak some things once we get the name of the people who know are going to be in the game, we're going to get them in the league somewhere so they can play up until the game is played.
So, I often call it putting on my athletic director hat. And on our level, in terms of some things that I saw, not from the MLB's perspective, but from the schools that had players that participated in it, what I would like to see better as a collective, as a whole, is those institutions as well as those conferences really pushing this and putting out there that how big of an event it is, because MLB can hype it up all day, but that's going to be somewhere else that's not within your own backyard. I believe the schools that this is in their own backyard, where these players are representing these institutions, these athletic departments in the conference, is going to have to do a better at really pushing this and pubbing it and being at the table with MLB to say, you know what, collectively marketing and promoting, we can all make this a success. And what I didn't see from the HBCUs and the SWAC and any of the other conferences wasn't as much hype to go into having to understand, do you know how big this stage has been set for your name to be represented as your institution, and for somebody who may not even have heard of Southern to say that kid could play. Where did he come from? Southern. And to know that Southern supported him by putting the conversation we had off air of how can we grow this more with not just the players from these HBCUs to where we start opening the doors, maybe where internships where you can get into these organizations, or you can get into some of these, get into the league itself, the league office, to where marketing, promoting, operations specialists, where, you know, we can start incorporating the two to see how can we grow it all together to where maybe it can trickle down to help us market and do more when it comes from the school and the conference perspective.
You must have been a fly on the wall because we had that conversation. What we like to do is try to get the coaches, the athletic director, and the presidents involved, because MLB wants to get them involved and have input. Because if MLB is going to help them, they've got to want to help themselves. That's what we have to make them understand that. You can't run with your hand out without having something that MLB sees that you're trying to do. You know, so that's,
if I'm an AD and I have a player, let's say I'm Southern's AD, and I have a player or two that's at this game participating, you know what I am? I'm there. I'm networking. I want to meet the very people who saw that talent in
FAMU AD was there. A lady who was the AD at Grambling. She was the only one.
Networking.
And you know what? When I went into the Hall of Fame in Chicago in the beginning of 2002, I guess, Norfolk State had a guy going in too, Coach Miller. You know, they brought there, a lady AD came there, and the president came. They came.
Those the rooms when you say, well, we're a low-resource institution. Well, when you get somebody with the accolades that you have and being able to be in the room where there are plenty of resources, you can't miss out and have the excuse to say, well, we're a low-resource institution, where you have the opportunity to get into those rooms where all the resources is. You just got to show up and take advantage of the opportunity and realize there is a value in it, all right? And don't just ignore it. And I personally feel, this is me, that on the perspective of the HBCUs, not MLB, not the players, not the guys that sit at the table, but from the HBCU and the conference level, they missed out on a perfect opportunity to go to Seattle, Washington, and do some networking around to find some resources. And it don't necessarily have to be towards baseball, but just networking as a whole in order to just have those contacts of whoever.
They're able to take advantage of it next year in Arlington, Texas. So they'll be in that backyard literally.
You better wake them up, Coach.
Yeah, well, we're going to try to.
Yeah. Well, let's get ready to take a break. Love the conversation. We'll take one and we'll come back to be more of Chopping Up with Coach Cador, all right?
Some Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge. Some don't. The ones that do know BTR is all about being closer, more convenient, with non-stops and short hops to anywhere their business takes them. They also know not flying BTR means more traffic, longer lines, and wasted time. So if it's about going from driveway to runway with a lot less highway, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport. It's about time. Smart Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge because BTR is so close and convenient, they're always one step ahead, rather than dead on their feet. So, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport.
Getting a letter from the IRS that you owe back taxes can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. Call Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040 today. We'll help stop garnishments, levies, and seizures immediately. With over 35 years of dealing directly with the IRS, our team of local professionals will help you pay the least amount possible. So if you owe back taxes to the IRS, you need help. Call the tax professionals at Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040. Your go-to tax relief.
Looking to get some keys made, locks rekeyed, or a wide variety of new and used safe? Then look no further than the trusted choice of Alfred Safe and Lock, conveniently located off of Government Street in Mid-City, Baton Rouge. Trust the expert locksmith at Alfred for all of your residential, commercial, and industrial lock and safe needs. Trusted by Baton Rouge and me, Roger Cador, to protect what is yours since 1946.
Take your fun full throttle with a single touch. There are places to fly high, swing low, or make the old bell ring. Your targets are in sight. Better your game by playing ball of almost every variety. Need to catch your breath? Have a passion? We've got the place. Gear up for where the rubber meets the mud, or stir up memories of a lifetime. Reach new heights. Gravitate towards something out of this world. Even travel back in time. You might like a little drama in your life, or get in touch with your inner nature lover. Release some pent-up energy while you're at it. There's plenty to do beyond the swing sets. BRAC, we're more than a playground.
Hey, Coach Roger Cador here. There's something about teamwork that brings the best out in any business. When I need a tow, I call Roadrunner Towing. Roadrunner's 4 generations strong and homegrown right here in Baton Rouge.
Thanks, Coach. There's no job too large or too small. Call Roadrunner for quick, reliable, exceptional service. We don't want an arm and a leg. We just want your toes. And remember, take time each day to be a blessing to someone. Thank you.
With over 60 years of combined experience, Kathy Sherburne and Anna Barnett bring a wealth of knowledge and excitement to the framing industry. Keeping strong to the Louisiana culture, Acadian Frame and Art has numerous local artists and sports team memorabilia for their customers to choose from. Whether you're creating a gallery-like setting in your office or simply looking for some fun art for your kids' playroom, Acadian Frame and Art is your one-stop picture framing spot. Call 225-927-6129 or go to www.acadianframe.com.
And we're back chopping it up with Coach Roger Cador. Of course, I'm Perry White. He's Roger Cador. My man on the board, Gary Edgerson. And, of course, if you hear my voice, hit that subscribe button right there underneath this video. Get the subscribe and the notification every time we go live, so you'll be able to get it and watch us right there. Coach, we just wrapped up talking about the Swingman Classic with the HBCUs participating a part of MLB All-Star Weekend. Last night, as we continue to talk about MLB Home Run Derby. Now, I know you guys, Garrett he has traveled to many stadiums. It's almost like he's a scout. As much as he travels the nation to go look at MLB stadiums, and yourself, you watch a lot of MLB ball. So I have this conversation with you guys. Last night's Home Run Derby, what did you think?
Oh, it was a classic event. I think this was as good as it gets.
Uh-huh.
You know, when you look at, and the thing that makes it so much different is the Latin American players. They bring a style with them, and they have a lot of ethic with them. And I think it's good. The people want to see it. Plus, they produce.
Yeah. Garrett, what about you?
Overall, I thought it was a good event. I like, just like Coach said, they bring that flair.
Yeah.
You know, your boy from from Tampa Bay, I don't know his name off the top of my head, but he had his cowboy. Yeah, he had his cowboy boots on.
Yeah, you saw that.
So I feel the same way Coach felt. It was a good event though. I feel bad for the people that sat. I told you this, P, last night. I felt bad for the people that sat in right field because everybody was left-handed, so everything was going out to left field. But other than that, it was good.
Garrett.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, they were right-handed. Everything was going to left field. Yeah. So yeah.
Some names of some guys that you liked last night.
Well, I liked all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Because, you know, back in the day, I used to watch it, and it was certain guys like Ken Griffey for sure was one. Sammy Sosa, you know, will be one.
Mark McGwire.
Yeah, Mark McGwire. Andre Galarragas at one time, I think, did it. You know, those were names when I watched. It was just certain guys that I cheered for that, you know, if I had a favorite, I mean, anytime I saw Ken Griffey Jr. back in the day in a home run derby, of course, turn that hat backwards and knock it out the park. That's what I was a fan of, you know.
Yeah, you know, the event one thing I'm going to steer away a little away from the event that MLB has done is put a lid on pitchers wanting to hit hitters after they hit a home run and celebrate. That is good for the game. The fans want to be entertained, and they were trying to stop it. So MLB stepped in and said, we letting these guys do whatever they want. If they hit a home run, let them celebrate. It's good for the game. And the Latin American players does it better than anybody.
You like the bat flip?
Anything, it doesn't matter.
You ain't a fan of what you laughing about, G? You don't like the bat flip?
I thought him being a coach, he'd be, nah, we not doing that. But, hey, I like the bat flip. Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
But, you know, when I coached, I couldn't do it in college.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that MLB is allowing these people to do it now.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. You know, you look at the game and tonight's All-Star game. As we go into the All-Star game, the week has been spread out with MLB. I'm sure in Seattle is just so much going on over the past few days, and you were there to even see. What are you excited about this year's All-Star game? Or do you have an excitement for the All-Star game this year? You've seen plenty.
Yeah, but not really. You know, I think it'll be probably a low-scoring game.
Yeah.
The one I remember the most is the 71 All-Star game when I think they had 9 or 10 Hall of Famers that played in that game.
Well, talk to me. That was before my time, so bring me back down.
Yeah, they played in
memory
Old
lane.
Tiger Stadium, and you had Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, Roberto Clemente, Johnny Bench, Reggie Jackson, Al Kaline. Oh, man.
You naming some things, man.
Yeah, probably Willie Stargell was in it. I can't remember, but I think they had 9 or 10. And Rod Carew probably was in it. But what happened is that there were a lot of home runs hit. And Reggie Jackson was the one that hit one in the light tower, got caught up in the light tower in right field. And Kurt Gotti. You're too young to know who Kurt Gotti.
Yeah, too young.
Kurt Gotti was the call. He was a New England guy. Did a lot of Boston games. Did a lot of baseball games for NBC. But Kurt Gotti called the shot with Reggie, and Reggie walked. He had a hamstring pull, and he literally limped around the bag. But he ran with a flare, you know, with Reggie. And matter of fact, I saw Reggie in February. He's a small little guy now.
Oh, man. It's just amazing how life just comes back at you, huh?
Yeah, he's not the Reggie I saw. But he's a small little, look like 160, 70 pound guy now.
You know, you look back in baseball, and I want to ask you this. I was curious to ask a coach this. You know, hockey has a flair to where when a fight breaks out in hockey, it's like a part of the show. People want to see that. It's like gloves off. In baseball, over the years, you have seen some pretty wild things take off, and it's typically between the batter and the pitcher. Or sometimes it gets heated because the coach comes out and he does not. The manager comes out. Coach, he doesn't like a call, and the team feels it. Then the other team, therefore, you got a clash. Have you always the same way that they do in hockey? Do you think that's good for the sport? In terms of an entertainment factor?
No, I don't think it's good. Because you got kids in the stands. And whenever you have kids, they're impressionable by adults and their favorite athletes. So this is why they take it so strongly when people do something that is go against the grain, that it's not family healthy. You got me? Not family entertainment. So you have to be careful and make sure people do the right thing.
And I guess I asked because I'm looking at where's the thin line of entertainment because baseball is not one of those sports where I call it an aggressive sport. Like basketball, you can get dunked on. That's a little aggressive. Get crossed over and step over you. That's a little aggressive. Football, a hard hit. That's a little aggressive. A Randy Moss type catch on somebody. And look, it's aggressive. Baseball really doesn't have the aggressive factor. So I guess I asked that because, I love to see a coach or a manager just ticked off at an ump and comes out there and whatever his lips are reading, good thing that he's not mic'd up. But, he's kicking the bag and he's doing all that extra stuff. entertaining. That's the aggressive side. So the fighting a little bit and the coaching coming out, getting on the ump, those seem to be the few aggressive entertainment.
They're not letting managers get on ump very much.
Yeah, they stopping that.
They're stopping.
Yeah.
Before it gets out of hand, they stop it. You're out of the game. And that stop a lot of stuff. So I like that part of it too, but I like the fact that when managers feel they need to fire their team up, they come and argue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's okay. You just can't let it go too far. And you end up getting one of your star players hurt, which is what? I remember when the Yankees were playing the White Sox and Pedro Martinez threw a ball inside and might have hit someone. And Don Zimmer, you don't know who Zim was. See, Gary knows Zim.
He's a Yankees fan.
I mean, everybody's seen the video of
Yeah,
Pedro and pushing this man.
Well, Zim went after Pedro.
He did
He
go
went
after him.
What was Pedro to do? He just pushed him down.
And then he took it. I thought he did the light way. He didn't punch him. No, he just go ahead and,
Yeah. But see, Zim, though, let's get him out the game. That's what the old man, this is called, I'm going to sacrifice myself for the team.
Yeah.
We get Pedro out, we got him.
You see how we getting excited? That's that aggressive side of the game that sometimes
You can't do it anymore.
That's that excitement. Like sometimes baseball, you got to have that because it's like, uh-oh. And then Sports Center come on that night or whatever you watch. They like, did you see what happened on the mound tonight?
I'm telling you, for me to be able to call that out that quick.
It was a little exciting, wasn't it? He was like, you couldn't believe that it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he knew it was strictly a move.
Yeah.
He was trying to get Pedro out the game. That's all that was.
What did Roger Cador do to get your team fired up? Clearly, you didn't take that route.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know. It depends. I just maybe said things to him
and when I say when you mean said things, we mean said things.
I might have, you know.
Come on, Coach. The statute of limitations is over. You can
hell no.
You can
maybe for you. Hell no.
You can let it out, man.
It's loud. It's loud and going and forgotten.
Did you ever have a case where? Because I don't think. Did you ever have a team that did it, a brawl or a fight?
No.
Okay.
Oh, once played Florida A&M. They came here, and the guy hit one of my boys hit a home run, and FAMU boys hit him. Hit the next guy. So that was it wasn't a brawl. It just went out there and grabbed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So. That's it.
Did you and the coach, the opposing coach, kind of get at it like, you need to get your boys? No, you need to get your boys.
Man, I stayed away from all that foolishness.
Yeah.
I was a little different kind of coach.
Yeah.
You know, we were there to take care of business, play the game, and get the hell out of town.
I remember seeing a brawl. It was UAPB, crazy enough, in Southern in football one year. Had to be, what year was that, like 2012, 2011? Man, listen, all-out brawl. Exciting, but it was a brawl nonetheless. Cost UAPB an opportunity. What you say, go back and it can hurt you. Cost them an opportunity at a SWAC championship that year because of that. All right, let's get ready to take a break. We'll come back and get ready to close out this thing and finish the conversation more, chopping it up with Coach Cador, all right?
Some Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge. Some don't. The ones that do know BTR is all about being closer, more convenient, with non-stops and short hops to anywhere their business takes them. They also know not flying BTR means more traffic, longer lines, and wasted time. So if it's about going from driveway to runway with a lot less highway, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport. It's about time. Smart Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge because BTR is so close and convenient, they're always one step ahead, rather than dead on their feet. So, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport.
Getting a letter from the IRS that you owe back taxes can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. Call Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040 today. We'll help stop garnishments, levies, and seizures immediately. With over 35 years of dealing directly with the IRS, our team of local professionals will help you pay the least amount possible. So if you owe back taxes to the IRS, you need help. Call the tax professionals at Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040, your go-to tax relief.
Looking to get some keys made, locks rekeyed, or a wide variety of new and used safe? Then look no further than the trusted choice of Alfred Safe and Lock. Conveniently located off of Government Street in Mid-City, Baton Rouge. Trust the expert locksmith at Alfred for all of your residential, commercial, and industrial lock and safe needs. Trusted by Baton Rouge and me, Roger Cador, to protect what is yours since 1946.
Take your fun full throttle with a single touch. There are places to fly high, swing low, or make the old bell ring. Your targets are in sight. Better your game by playing ball of almost every variety. Need to catch your breath? Have a passion? We've got the place. Gear up for where the rubber meets the mud, or stir up memories of a lifetime. Reach new heights. Gravitate towards something out of this world. Even travel back in time. You might like a little drama in your life, or get in touch with your inner nature lover. Release some pent-up energy while you're at it. There's plenty to do beyond the swing sets. BRAC, we're more than a playground.
Hey, Coach Roger Cador here. There's something about teamwork that brings the best out in any business. When I need a tow, I call Roadrunner Towing. Roadrunner's 4 generations strong and homegrown right here in Baton Rouge.
Thanks, Coach. There's no job too large or too small. Call Roadrunner for quick, reliable, exceptional service. We don't want an arm and a leg. We just want your toes. And remember, take time each day to be a blessing to someone. Thank you.
With over 60 years of combined experience, Kathy Sherburne and Anna Barnett bring a wealth of knowledge and excitement to the framing industry. Keeping strong to the Louisiana culture, Acadian Frame and Art has numerous local artists and sports team memorabilia for their customers to choose from. Whether you're creating a gallery-like setting in your office or simply looking for some fun art for your kids' playroom, Acadian Frame and Art is your one-stop picture framing spot. Call 225-927-6129 or go to www.acadianframe.com.
All right, back with more of Chopping It Up with Coach Roger Cador. I'm Perry White, my man on the board, Garrett Edgerson. Great conversations today as we're talking about MLB All-Star Weekend. Can't have a legendary baseball coach and not talk about the biggest weekend of Major League Baseball and what was beautiful about it, incorporating HBCUs with the HBCU Swingman Classic. Thank you to you and all the other great people who sat at the table and didn't forget about the HBCUs and found a way to incorporate them into MLB All-Star Weekend. You had an opportunity to be up in Seattle. What they said, you shook the hand and kissed the babies and came on back. But all in all, All-Star Weekend, when you look at it, the All-Star game tonight, you gave a memory of the 1971 All-Star game. Any others out there that over the years to commemorate tonight's game that stood out to you?
Well, also when Pete Rose ran over Ray Fosse at home plate. Mm-hmm. And Leo DeLip DeRocha was the third base coach waving in men. You're too young to know who Leo DeLip was. But he's the one that helped Willie Mays to get the Say Hey Kid name. Mm-hmm. You see, Leo DeLip was something special. So, but I remember that All-Star game. And, I mean, those are the ones I remember.
What about you, G? Any All-Star game? No? Not one that stands out?
Nah, not. Well, I think the one that it was in Milwaukee and it went to extra innings, and that's when they decided, like, we cannot have the All-Star game go to extra innings. Mm-hmm. I forgot the year, but that one sticks out to me.
You know, I guess I look at the All-Star weekend and I look at overall, what we're starting to see, what the real issue, what they're starting to see with African American community, not a lot of blacks. When you talk about African Americans, and I could just remember growing up, and there were many that I looked forward to that weekend because of the game, because the familiar names from our communities. That obviously what you guys are trying to do is open that back up and get it back to those familiar names from our community.
Do you remember there was a time when they played 2 All-Star games in a year? Before you were born.
Yeah, I say, fill me in on that.
Then in the 60s. They used to play 2 All-Star games.
Now, how did that work in a span of well, I'm sure they didn't play as many games then, but how did that All-Star, what was that format like? Preseason?
Well, I think one was in the beginning of July and the last July, something like that. I can't remember exactly how but they played 2.
You know, even
one in the American League City and one in the National League City.
Now, that would be nice. You know, when you look at All-Star games, the NBA kind of had a problem. The NFL, for sure, with the Pro Bowl, saw a problem that guys in this day and age was not really didn't want to go out and to show how good they were. It's like, no, you might jeopardize my money. I can easily go in this game and get hurt. But now back in the day, it wasn't about that. It was all about, if you said I was the best, I'm going to show you why I'm the best amongst the best. We've seen it in basketball too with the NBA. Not a lot of defense these days. Guys are kind of let you run by them, shoot, dunk, do what you're going to do. But you look back like me growing up watching Jordan. Jordan wasn't just going to let you do that because it was an all-star game. And now when you look at baseball, do you think maybe baseball, just like basketball with the NBA and the NFL, when it comes to the game where your best are out there, do you think maybe they've toned it down?
Well, I think they have.
Yeah.
Again, nobody want to get hurt.
Yeah.
Because it jeopardized their money and career. So they've toned it down a lot, and I think that's why you don't see a lot of scoring, because nobody's going all out.
Yeah. I like going all, and I guess that's easier said than done, but I'm the fan, so as the fan of the person that's watching, when you got the best out there, I want to see the best. I could go back and remember, was it Sean Taylor in that Pro Bowl? Was out there just laying hit sticks.
Knocking people out in Hawaii.
You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, if y'all say these the best people, I'm finna show you. And now today, man, nope. Look, they didn't simply turn it into a flag football game, and the NBA is nothing but right now Harlem Globetrotters All-Star game is all it is.
Until they get to the end and everybody wants to play. But the first 3 quarters, it's like, hey, we toss it, don't, yeah.
Yeah, do everything you want, spin it around, throw it between the legs, and now with baseball. But I would definitely love to see our community be more involved when it comes to baseball the way that I remember growing up, because, I know a lot of people, especially when you talk about black folks, when it's Pro Bowl or when it's getting to NBA All-Star, everybody's just a buzz. It's not really a buzz in our community right now when it comes to MLB All-Star.
Yeah, but the people turned out in Seattle though. But I just think people elsewhere, they took it for granted. It was something about the people in Seattle wanted to see an HBCU All-Star game.
Maybe it's in that area. Of course, you don't get a lot of that flair of what we bring when you talk about African-American culture, and let alone HBCU culture. So maybe the fact that was occurred in that area, that's what attracted them, because we don't get to see that much up there.
Well, that might have been the attraction. Yeah. We'll see what happens in Arlington. I think we can really do well in Arlington.
Oh, yeah.
I think you mentioned some wonderful idea about if the HBCUs also help with the promoting.
Please.
See, MLB is going to do his thing. But
when you talk about marketing, promoting, social media, and whatever else in terms of to see if we can help get the word out there to get these HBCUs, to get MLB and bridging the gap to where we make sure when it comes to the communication, we won't have no lag, because when you bring – it was success. That's the Northwest. I expect nothing less than great being in the South.
That's right.
Right? Yeah. And where the HBCUs are at, I expect nothing less than success.
In your backyard. Or front yard.
And it's just in your yard. It don't even matter. You look around to your left and right, it's still there. It's your neighbors, it's yours, it's everybody's, because it's right there. And Man, great show today. I'm looking forward to. I'm gonna watch a little bit of the MLB All-Star game tonight. I don't know how much. I'll try to see if I can get some familiar names, and I have to fault myself with when it comes to MLB these days. And I am probably like many other fans, and I have no problem with admitting I'm probably not as well versed in paying attention to MLB like I used to be, and that's just the honest truth.
You gotta watch. You gotta watch. You gotta watch. Yeah. I said Shohei's name last night, and he was like, "Who?"
Yeah.
He didn't know who Shohei.
He does not know who Shohei Ohtani is.
Let me get off of this podcast now.
Yeah.
Can I run out of here?
If you can stretch them legs good enough to run. You say you in good shape, so yeah. Matter of fact, Coach, let's race after you down the race. We want to thank everybody out there for tuning in today with another great episode. Of course, as you heard before, we've all been vacationing, so we back putting in the work, and we're going to keep putting in the work if the good Lord says the same each and every week. That's why I want you to hit that subscribe button, so when we do put in the work, you'll get that notification. It'll drop down and say, hey, Coach Cador live. Tune in, check us out, listen to what we have to say. And, man, as always, we thank everybody that's out there that supports us, that listens, that shares. You can follow him at Roger Cador. He's on all social media, Facebook as well as Instagram. And to say you're not really a social guy, man, your page be blowing up, man, especially if you post anything on Facebook, man. It's nothing for you to get the likes and the comments, man. So, you're pretty popular out there on social media. Y'all don't even know, but if you go follow him, you will see he's a pretty popular guy. So want to thank you guys for joining us, and we'll be back next week. Because always, listen, I'm Perry White. He's Roger Cador, and my man on the board, Garrett Edgerson. Peace.